I think that's it. Hello, everyone. Can you shut the door, please? Or it stays open? Okay. Can you hear me? Hello, everyone. Okay, they start to shut the door so I can hear myself as well. Hello, girls. My name is Kateryna. I come from Dnipro, Ukraine. I'm happy to welcome you here. In fact, this is my first presentation with so many people. So I come from Dnipro. I have about 7 years experience of working QA and testing. About half a year ago, I moved to the company VIX. This is quite a well-known company on the global market. Those of you who didn't know never heard about this, I will tell you more about it later on. I work in QA Guild core management team. This is not an engineering team. This is a small team just made up of 6 people. We handle building the strategy of company development, training engineers, we're building the guild, and so on and so forth. Speaking about Wix as a product, this is premium service, free of charge platform that allows us to develop web pages by simple drag and drop, by putting elements on the page. It is quick and easy without having any technical knowledge, free of charge, which is also important. Of course, with the possibility of buying premium add-ons and services, and people are quite eager to do that, and we make money on that as well. Speaking about the Wix in numbers, then here you can see that we have about 150, even more million users, and every year we have 2 million registrations, new sign-ups on the Wix.com. New accounts are created. Looks like it moved around nastily here. We have 2.5 thousand people in 7 locations, 3 countries. Functionally speaking, our company is made up of 20 plus mini startups. They are all independent companies working autonomously. Sometimes they crisscross on the different product levels, but each company has its own budget, its own resources, its own product management, their own backlog, different processes. Some of them are similar, of course, but all QAs work in the same mode, in the same style. And this is the style that I'm going to discuss with you today. Although the numbers are not that big, but there are big numbers. Fortunately, they didn't crisscross with each other. 200 is the number of A/B tests that our company does every day. And 1,500 tests, A/B tests, is something our company does every month. And 8 minutes? What do you think 8 minutes stand for? 8 minutes. What is it? This is the most popular answer. I'm doing this presentation for the second time. This is not the test run. No, fortunately not. Almost. So 8 minutes is the frequency of releases for production. Every 8 minutes, if you enter Wix.com site, you see new environment, new production after release of new features, after the update of artifacts, after changing some data centers. Every 8 minutes, in other words, the environment is changing. How to survive in this pace? There are 3 main aspects that you should focus on to be able to survive in this pace, and we're building the correct process. We found this process a while ago, and we try to work with people because people are the most important asset here, the key thing. We're testing in production. I don't know, maybe some people can give it up to me if they spend more than 1 hour environment testing, more than hour a day. Okay, it's not so many people. It's great that you applaud it. So we're testing in production, not just for the sake of it. We're testing in production because we can afford it and we can organize it. And we know its assets and risks related to this approach. Among the assets that I mentioned here would be, of course, among the benefits would be the real environment. Only production is the place where you store your user data, real users, or real capacities of your servers, the real transmission interfaces, and real speeds, and reduction of the overall time for environment grooming, but I will speak about it later. To work in this mode would be impossible without proper preparation. There are techs who know how to do this, and among them, I will name a few of them. Hopefully you have heard about them. If not, then you can read about them. For instance, green, blue environment. I always am making mistakes here. Green, blue environment when there are two productions, one of which is active at a particular moment in time, and the switch happens in case of one of them goes offline. Canary deployment is when the functionality is deployed gradually for different number of users. A/B testing has a technique of both testing and deploy for deploy decision-making, monitoring at all levels, synthetic, and in combination with real monitoring of users and system behavior, automatization of tests at the level of infrastructure, and visual tests as an organization of the quickest possible cycle of feedback. I was asked to use as few English words as possible, so when I'm hang here, it means that I'm trying to use a Russian word instead of English. So we're testing in production. It's not easy, but the quick feedback cycle is the most important that we need and what we aspire to get. When I'm talking about experiments, perhaps some people recall chemistry lessons when you added solutions into another solution and it either exploded or not. Of course, experiments doesn't sound IT-based, but it is all about us, because an experiment is when you introduce changes into the system and collect results about what consequences or positive feedback can be generated for your system. So, our experimenting process is based on the so-called feature toggle development or data-driven development. I'm not going to translate it into English, hopefully you understand what I'm talking about, but very briefly, what is feature toggle development? Try to imagine that each part of the code whose functionality is implemented by the developer is put into if block, which is marked by a special meta tag or attribute called specification in our case, specification of an experiment. So feature toggle development is what should be applied and what should be introduced at the code development level so that experiments start working in your system, so that you can get quick feedback from the production. Experimenting with the code is great, but there are many experiments, as you could see, 1,500 per month. Every day we have 200 open experiments. By toggling on and off some experiments, we manage the production status for us, for users, for the teams. It is impossible to do it by hand. That's why our company has developed a product called Petri. Right here, you see the QR code on GitHub of this product, because it's an open source product. You can also use it for your projects, for your companies. And guinea pig. The guinea pig on the right is a nice UI created for running experiments by non-techies, because developers on their hand wrap around each part of the code into a block, and this way they create an opportunity for toggling the experiment on or off. People not involved in the development, but people who want to use this and manage this functionality can do this so through the interface of this nice cuddly animal by toggling it on or off at the same production, which uses all 20 mini startups, all the involved users, and even non-company people if they know the specification. We do experiments, and now you're going to hear the song. Now the song is over. We move to another page with a QR code. Here you can see the link. Do you use Instagram? Who is an Instagram user? Raise your hand. So this is a link to Instagram. Just 5 minutes ago, I put up a story there in my profile. Please enter it and vote. Try to imagine if everything were automatic without the human involvement. How often do you need to make decisions, not at work, but at home, like what color shirt to wear, purple or red, what music to play in the car, but how often do you have to provide a feedback? The decisions made for yourself is our own responsibility, how we control our lives, but decisions made for other people, when it is product development, when this is about UI, user behavior experience decisions, such decisions are hard to make because they're based on assumptions. Let's not watch my Instagram now, okay? I hope you're voting now. It's a pity you cannot find my stories because I have it on my page. Okay, watch the Instagram then. To deliver the feedback on your decisions, simply when you decide for yourself is quite easy, but when you decide for others, can you see the stories, Nastya? What the hell? It is there. It's very strange. Okay, 2 minutes, no, 1 minute for you to vote. Can you see it? Please vote. What is happening here is as a bit of a failed A/B test in real time. I'm trying to do it real fast and see how you're voting, and we'll use your nicknames from Instagram and tell you who votes for what color, and then we'll catch this ducky. If you want a ducky, please vote. Where's Taya? Taya wanted to vote. Taya, did you vote? Did you guess the vote? Okay, tell me which color you voted for. Purple. Okay, hopefully you recognize Deep Purple because it's purple. And Red Hot Chili Peppers because it was red color. Okay, let's consider that you have cast a vote. Anyway, at the end I will summarize it because it's taking a while, but our cycle of getting quick feedback from users is based on a similar experiment. Of course, it's not about Instagram, although sometimes we use it as well. Sometimes it's about color, sometimes music-based, sometimes it's about the location of elements on the page. This is the sort of feedback that we get from the users, helps us correctly place the products, not to do redundant things, not to do uncomfortable things, not to do things more complicated, too complex. We make experiments on people just like now. Thank you very much for participating. Experiments on people, why? Because the product is made for people. Experiments with people, why else? Because we can manage different categories of people, and this is the most important asset of this approach. Are we going to run or test this? If we have multi-choice test, if there are more than one options, then we have to decide on the type of people that you want to run this test with. Briefly speaking, we use the audiences subdivided into geographical location. For instance, we want to beta test purple or red duckies only with American users, for instance, because it's important for them. Or we want to switch off the test in Israel the company Wix is originating from Israel, because we don't want to collect this feedback from them, because we know that it's in Hebrew and this feature is not going to work in another placement of the words, or it can be more limited rank of users, like only staff people from the company, because
A/B and multi-option testing is not about QA, it's more about examining your audience, it's more about developing product strategy, how to replenish your backlog, where it should be cut down or expanded, and testing for the benefit of your staff or staff of our teams. This is about QA. One and the same production, when one experiment turns on and the other turns off, could result in a completely different production for girls in the front row and for boys sitting in the end row, because Anastasia, for example, engaged experiment A, and this young man activated experiment B. So he would have the red pill, and Nastya will have the violet pill. This is the main value, the main asset for testing on humans. Experimentation is a broader category when we make changes to the system and somehow try to monitor the results. And A/B tests presuppose collecting data from users to see how that test affected their lives and their product experience. I'll share with you a narrative of one of the tests. You see one of the welcome screens of our product, of Wix product. So some time ago, the company decided to involve in the audience of users the least technically prepared people, those who can't craft a website with a simple drag and drop. So we designed artificial digital intelligence. In fact, it's not that artificial intelligence. You could create a website by answering a couple of questions and clicking next. You will go to an already made website that could be published and be available for use in seconds. So the option to create an ADI website is on the left, and it was added through several runs of experimentation. It was first a reference or a link, then it was a pop-up, then it was a split welcome page. So this option has won, and it still exists. But funnily enough, during the B testing, the biggest value is that you are able to watch other indicators of system users, which you haven't even thought about. But when the screen split experiment was active, and the option A was on the left and option B was on the right, for some obscure reason, this left-sided option has increased, has led to a raise by 20% of retention. So, in running experiments, in running A/B tests, one should remember and bear in mind that it takes preparation. You need to carefully think through your experiment, and it has to be significant in terms of functionality, what you put in your experiment. Also, you need to get a sample size. of the audience. When the time is right to make a determination on whether it is ready to go further. Also, it is good to run an experiment. But why do we do it? We do it to monitor certain KPIs of a related product, be it button clicks, or successfully completed transactions, or successfully published website, or the time spent by users on Wix.com. So it really takes meticulous preparation to get ready for it, and it's not the job for testers only. We have a number of experienced analysts. They are responsible for designation of relevant KPIs. So B testing is necessary, but one should remember that this is just an assumption. This is a tapered off functionality, and if one option wins, it doesn't mean that this is how the crowd will behave from now on. So it's just an assumption. The next item I'd like to go over is automation. Since we automate functionality in production process, we get involved in automation throughout. There is a statement which is very common in Europe and America. It's very bad without automation, and it mostly goes for functionality automation and to a testing or other level tests. We start with continuous integration, continuous deployment. I told you there's automatic rollback system. If the featured toggle is not a B test yet, but part of the function that is poured into the master, and the entire code is available in the master at any time, so that anybody could activate or deactivate any element. So for the automatic rollback to take place in production stage, there are test beds, servers, where new codes are deployed and made run with scope tests, and there is automatic rollback of malfunctioning features. Also, there is automation at the monitoring level. We'll talk about some of it later. There is also automation at experimentation stage. And also there's automation at the level of monitoring. And here it is. I don't know if you deal with monitoring and if you know the difference between a synthetic and a realistic monitoring or real monitoring, but this is something what our production team cannot live without. And there is no need to do it. We started monitoring our system from the very beginning, but now it is divided into two functional groups. What happens first is you observe behavior of users. You observe A/B testing and testing scenarios that play out. This helps you limit the number of testing done prior to release and to catch re-emerging bugs or any unforeseen problems as you watch the real system in action. So on the one hand, product managers, analysts use this kind of table or toolkit to monitor experiments. As you can see, there are screenshots of successful experiments. The green lit parameters show that this experiment is A-OK, so option B is in the win, which is because option A is what we have now, business as usual. So to see how successful option B is job for the analysts, but these cross-sections could be generated based on the number of errors made at production. Business intelligence events are one of the prerequisites of monitoring, which is really necessary in creating any functionality, any features. Developers plan business intelligence events dispatched to our servers, and they help us generate reports at any whim of internet users. Successful completion of forms, error 500, and abandoned purchase form if someone couldn't complete the purchase. All this data is collected, and you can look up a report on each user, analyze what went wrong, why errors occurred in a particular segment. Perhaps you need to redo something in AUI. Also, there is a lifestyle or life health monitoring. Users are spread across the world. Data centers are deployed in all prominent cloud providers, including Google Cloud. This type of monitoring is carried out by data providers and partially by system teams that check on health of service, that check on speed. So monitoring is ample. Anyone can perform monitoring regardless of your position in the company or in response to any production-related incident, and you need to debug a scenario. Concerning team selection, there is a system, TMP of testability, 10 P's of testabilities. This is Eddie Jones. I hope you've heard about her. She writes in really interesting terms about automation. So she suggests using 10 P's of testability to see if your project is doomed to fail. I'm going to give you 10 P's, and I will elaborate on 3 of them, 3 of your choosing. So, people, philosophy, product, pipeline, productivity, production issues, proactivity, and a couple of others. So, which one do you want me to focus on? Proactivity. What does it mean? It means if the team lacks 1 or 2 people who are interested in innovation and optimization of the process, something is likely to go wrong. So people need to be proactive, and this is HR's responsibility to pick up at least a couple of such people. You are smiling, so which one do you want me to go into? Which P? Don't go there. There, young lad. In a diverse team with members of different skill sets or different gender or different specificities, QAs and testers, people with the right skill set, with the right attitude to product. This is about people. And somebody shout out, NEP, a problem. Okay, problem is something that is made in many a team. When 10 of them sit down to develop a product, seldom do they know what kind of value we want to bring into the business world. But when everyone who is involved in development knows exactly what problem are we targeting or what objective we want to achieve, local solutions made at each and every workstation every day in agile settings at least So these decisions are more well balanced, more optimized, and they lead to more questions, which is great. So we know the problem and we develop a more optimum solution. If you want me, I could go over all 10 Ps later, or you could Google them. I'm here at your disposal today and tomorrow. Why do I say that we talk about lean QA? That's because what I told you before helps us avoid super production. So we don't polish off to the point of creating holes that which shines already. We release 10 features. We don't overproduce. We release them every 8 minutes in bits and pieces, and we immediately generate feedback. We cut down the wait time on the configuration of test environment. Production might work or might not work on your machine. We decrease time for configuration, and leanness as a philosophy came from Toyota, and when QA do not run integration too well, and QA can look up reports about real issues based on A and B tests, when they're involved in more complex tasks, there is more motivation, one might say. And there is less of that monkey hitting or tapping on the keyboard. These are my boys. They are twins. I'm kidding, of course, but it's there should be room for experiment in your life. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm happy to take your questions. We have a couple of questions. Wow, let's do it. So many questions. Let me sip some water. Okay. Your questions. You gotta have a microphone, right? Yeah, sure. Go ahead. So your experiment is success, and your metrics is improving or not worsening, and there is a user who was happy with your previous features, and he begs you to bring it back. What are you going to do? For one specific user, or maybe a group of users claim that they liked what they had, bring it back. This is not up to QA, this is product management who's going to decide on that, but technically it is possible. I don't remember though when we had to roll back something that we had to satisfy the likings of two individuals. Every upgrade is driven by something, right? It might bring some latent benefits, but in realistic terms, I don't remember any case when we brought back the old features. How do you generate assumptions for B-testing? Product ideas are generated by product managers, then they sit down to discuss KPIs and exposures. I mean, what should happen on the website to initiate an experiment? For example, I push the sign up and the experiment starts. They go over sample sizing, they discuss various matrices and formulas for something I don't remember that from mathematical statistics. So they analyze things to be monitored, how long that monitoring should last, and how many people should be monitored. Well, teams influence the product as much as they can, but everyone has their own job.
Да, у меня
Someone
вопрос.
comes up with ideas,
Вы много
others
делаете
put it to life.
экспериментов, мы тоже. И вопрос
You
такой,
run a lot of experiments.
чтобы сделать какой-то эксперимент,
We do too.
нужно сделать, возможно,
To
какие-то большие
make an
архитектурные изменения
experiment,
иногда. Но его нужно
you need
выкатить
to
быстро, и
provide
эти
for
изменения не
architectural
делаются, то
changes,
есть выкатывается в каком-то виде,
but
а дальше этот
you need to
эксперимент
roll out
оказывается успешным, и по
your
идее надо бы
experiment
этот код
quickly.
привести к нормальному виду, возможно, покрыть
That
его тестами,
experiment
там, от юнит до функциональных
becomes a hit,
инфраструктурных
but
или каких-либо
you
еще.
might
И вот делаете
need
ли
to
вы это вообще?
consider
Как это делаете?
to polish
Не
off the
поставить ли код
architecture.
костылями из-за
Do
того, что
you
вы
do
идете
it?
через эксперименты?
I mean, does it not create some crutches when you don't do it? I'm sure there is a technical debt of some kind, but changes that are not functional go through a defensive test. When monitoring is designed to make sure that things didn't get worse, if it's not getting any worse, then sometime later, as soon as the test is over, it's poured back in, and then functional changes are based on the new code. Just like the others, simply because the time flies by, tools get upgraded. It's all about management. The final question. Hi, thank you for your question. Thank you for your presentation. I have a question. When you launch a beta, someone who used the website sees an alien button or button of a different colors, thinking that something went wrong. That person will go back, disrupting the chain, so the result will be blurred, and then he will start over. Or if someone explains to a senior relative how to create a Wix-based website,
There is an option to, control the audience not based on internal systems and based on location, but for the users who already exist, the existing users, the serious UI changes are installed only if they ask for them. If we're talking about serious changes, and a person can be really perplexed by what is happening there, such users who are not unrolling such experiments, only for the newcomers, freshly registered ones. So you're registering the user experience. Of course, this is one of the ways to control it. We do it for the new users. We show the experiment for them only if they have logged in, or if they're newly registered, or for the old ones, if it is an improvement. Okay, dear colleagues, let's give it up to Kateryna.